Hi everyone. In this video we're going to talk about Lambda functions in Java. Lambda functions are also known as anonymous functions, and they're, well, it's kind of different. Let me show you why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another package. Right click and do new package. And I'm going to call this cvtc.javaweb.pokemon, and that's all I'm going to call it. Oh, it already exists. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add, I thought that would add a new package, I'm going to add a new class. And then I'm going to browse to the cvtc Java Web Pokemon project, and I'm going to call it Lambda Demo. And I'm going to actually have it use a main method. Okay. So you're going to actually add multiple mains to your projects. You can actually add a regular good old main method class like you did in OOP to run this guy. I'll do a quick print line that says hello world. If you wanted to run this code, all you have to do is right click this project, do run as, not run on server. When you're not running on a server, we'll run this code. It's a Java web application, just like we did before back in OOP. And if you want to run this project, if you want to run your controllers, you can right click this step and do run as, run on server, clearly. Just note that when you right click this main method, you don't want to run this main method on a server. I bet the results are going to be bad. In fact, I don't even want to try it. The only reason I'm doing that here, one, it's nice for education, but two, Lambda functions are they're a little bit different. Okay, here we go. There is another style of programming out there known as functional programming. There's a couple functional programming language. One is known as Lisp or Common Lisp. There is also Clojure, and I believe Scala might be another functional programming. .NET has a functional programming language called F#. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a string, and I'm going to call this string str, and I'm going to assign it hello world. We can store data into variables. This is going to be, if you haven't seen Lambda functions before or anonymous functions before, we can actually store functions inside of variables and call those functions later. This gets a bit mind-blowing at first. And so to actually create a function that I want to store, we need to use some pretty wild classes. The first one is consumer. I'm going to make this guy consume a string. And I'm going to go ahead and import that. No, not going to let me do it, eh? All right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to import the java.util.function library. There we are. And so this consumer object is going to be a function that consumes a string and does nothing with it. And I'm going to name this variable, this consumer object, I'm going to name this write hello world. And for the value that I'm going to set it to, I'm actually going to set it to s is going to be the string that we pass into it. And then I'm going to use the arrow operator. This arrow operator is much like a parameter that you would pass in here. So I'm saying I'm going to pass in the this string for s here. I'm going to pass in this string. I'm going to pass it into this function. I'm going to pass it into system.println, and I'm going to go ahead and print s. So I'm actually taking a function, just like up here. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it down here. And I'm going to say write hello world. Again, you could do this way. And I could take a string called s, and I could do system.out.println. And I could print s this way. This is two ways of doing the same thing. This is two ways of doing the same thing. This is exactly this. In fact, it may compile to something like that. This is syntactic sugar. To use my consumer object, I need to use write hello world dot accept and then pass in the string. So just like this would be exactly similar to doing write hello world like this. So this is exactly the same thing, except I'm going to say hello Lambda world. Okay, I'm going to click play, and I'm hoping to see both of these appear. Indeed we do. We can see that we've printed hello Lambda world. The function we use to do this, though, the code we use to do this is right here. I know, it's actually pretty crazy. We can actually make this more complicated. We can actually use what's known as the function object. And we'll say our function lambda will, I believe, take a string, and we're going to have it return a string. And we're going to name this function, this variable. We're going to say, oh, I don't know. Let's make this. Let's do a header function. I don't know, and we'll set that equal to. We'll go ahead and we'll say s, and we're going to use our arrow operator. Instead of just doing this all in one line, you can actually use curly braces here and a semicolon. And we're going to have this lambda function return a string. We're going to have it return h1 plus s, the parameter that we're passing in here, just like before, and we're going to end the close tag here. Again, you need to have a semicolon here and here because this is a statement. And you could write more statements in here inside your lambda functions. And then I'm going to use this, this header function. So I'm going to use system.out.println, and I'm going to say header function. So we're going to call this header function now, and we will call the apply method. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass in Steve. Sure. Okay. We're going to go ahead and run that. And again, you can see we're running our lambda function in here. So again, this is functional programming. This echoes very close to the common Lisp programming language of treating functions just like data. We're just treating functions like data. In fact, we can store functions in other variables and call those later. It's frankly really goofy. It's really goofy at first. But why would I show you this? Why even bother showing you with this crazy lambda syntax? Well, notice in my models package that I've now got an isLegendary predicate, an isMale predicate, a national Pokedex number comparator, and a name comparator. I am up to my eyeballs in comparators and predicates. And so I'm going to show you how to write comparators and to sort array lists and to filter array lists using kind of a syntactic sugar using lambda expressions. So I'm going to comment these guys out, and I'm going to try to do the same thing using lambdas. I would say typically in programming that using lambdas to compare and to filter results is probably a bit more common in industry. Again, it kind of cleans up our code base a bit and makes it easier to read. However, I should note that Java, I don't believe these are true. I don't believe these are true lambda functions. They are literally syntactic sugar. The compiler is doing some tricks such that it looks like a lambda function. They are not, in fact, true lambda functions like enclosure or in Lisp. .NET, I believe, does have true anonymous lambda functions, and this is why I among them. Again, I do like C# a bit more than Java. It's just my bias. In Java, C# actually has true lambdas, but again, Java has something that looks like it. So here we go. First, what we're going to do is we're going to write a Lambda comparator to sort our Pokemon list, just like we did with the name comparator. So again, I'm going to run this again, just so we can remember what this is doing. Without any lambdas and without any sorting. You can see we're just outputting our array lists as the elements were added to it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Lambda function to sort. So again, I would write just Pokemon list dot sort. But now, instead of doing new name comparator like we did above, I'm going to write a Lambda function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the parameters that I'm going to pass into this Lambda function. Again, I don't say the name of the class or the function that I'm calling. All I'm simply doing is it's anonymous. It doesn't matter what the name is. So I'm going to say P1 and P2. And then I'm going to use the arrow operator. So again, this is what I'm passing into my Lambda function. Now, what's really nice about this is Java knows that I'm actually trying to sort Pokemon Java beans. It's a Pokemon Java bean list. It knows I'm trying to sort that. So Java knows and automatically assigns this the Pokemon Java bean type, and this one the Pokemon Java bean type. And in here I can actually sort my Pokemon objects. So I'm going to sort them by name. So I'm going to do P1 dot get name dot compare to, and I'm going to compare to the other name in P2 dot get name. There we are. And I can use this to compare my to sort rather my Pokemon objects. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to wait for this guy to stop doing whatever it's doing because I no longer trust Apache. In fact, I don't know if I ever did trust Apache. Okay, let's press the bug button. I'm going to close my previous window really quickly before it launches a new window so I can keep in track. And you can see our Lambda is sorting my Pokemon by name. So Charizard comes first, then Jigglypuff, the third is Mewtwo, finally is Pikachu. And that this Lambda function was another way to sort these using a programmatic shorthand. Additionally, I should be able to filter Pokemon using something similar. I can do Pokemon list dot remove if, and we can make a P. Again, Java knows that this is a Pokemon. And we're going to say P dot get gender dot equals, and this time we'll remove all the females. Okay. Lambda programming, everybody. Okay, let's see if this goes. Now I'll press the bug. Lambdas are pretty wild. I really enjoy when I get the opportunity to write them. So indeed, we removed all the female Pokemon using lambdas. Now, again, what I'm going to say to this is lambdas are syntactic sugar. In fact, if you would rather do new name comparator and sort that way by passing in a name comparator object, or you can use the lambda notation to do exactly the same thing. What I will say, though, is that this and this are, they probably wouldn't compile down to exactly the same thing, but again, Java does not have true lambda functions. And so this is not going to compile down to the most efficient code ever. I think it's just syntactic sugar at this point. So the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out. Now you might be asking yourself, Steve, why? Why are you showing us how to sort with Java array lists and that sort of thing? Well, one, array lists and list data structures are extremely important, but two, it will allow us to do some really fun stuff with our website. So I thought I would show you how we can sort our array list and actually have the users tell us how they want to sort our array list. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to my JSP file and I'm going to add a form. So right under H1, I'm going to add a new form. And for the action, I'm going to keep the action as Pokemon servlet. And the method I'm going to use is I'm going to stick with the same method. I'm going to use get, so everything that we, when we press the submit button, it transmits all this in plain text. So I'm going to add a submit button. So it's going to be an input of type submit. The value of it is going to be submit. Those are the words we're going to say. And then what I'm going to say for name is going to be submit. So I am not creative. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a select element, which will create a drop-down menu. So I'm going to do select. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this a name. And the name I'm going to give this is sort. Here we are. And in our select element, I'm going to go ahead and add some options. So I'm going to add some option elements. I'm going to add 2 of these. I'm going to say I'm going to sort these by name. I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to say sort by Pokédex number. And finally, I'm going to sort by weight. Again, you can sort in all kinds of different ways. I'm going to go ahead and give these options a value, because select is getting its value from which option is selected. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a value of name. I'm also going to give this the attribute of checked. Notice that checked does not actually need, excuse me, oh, I'm sorry, it's selected. Sorry, selected attributes do not need values. You can have attributes that do not have a value. Again, this option is either selected or it's not selected. You don't need a value. This is binary. I'm going to go ahead and give this option a value of number. I'm going to give this option a value of weight. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to now see if I can see, just see the select drop-down menu. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this servlet. Debug this servlet. Hopefully it doesn't explode. There we are. You can see now we have our drop-down menu. In fact, I think I'm going to change this submit button to say something a little different. I'm going to make it the value as sort. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can actually see how the user wanted us to sort these. So I'm going to look at the request object now. I'm going to expect that. So I'm going to do string, and I'm going to say sort method, and I'm going to pull out that sort method parameter. So the request object is going to come in. The name is going to be sort. So I'm going to pull out that parameter, sort. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to quick set a method. So I'm going to say if sort method equals null, we're going to assume that the sort method is going to be equal to name. Okay, because again, this request get parameter could return null. So I'm just going to assume that if the user doesn't click anything or it comes in null for any reason, we're going to sort by name. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say if sort method dot equals name, we are going to do Pokemon list, and we will sort our Pokemon by name. So I'm going to use a comparator for that. We're going to say comparator, but then also lambda p1, p2. Use the arrow operator to define the body of this, and we're going to return p1. Oh, excuse me. We're going to do p1 dot, that's it. We don't need a return keyword here. Again, it's defining that for us. So we're going to do p1 dot get name dot compare to p2 dot get name. There we are. And then I'm going to say else if sort method dot equals, what did I call it again? What would the value be? Oh, number. An index might be better, but I called it number here. Same number. We're going to do Pokemon list dot sort. Again, we're going to have p1 and p2. We'll use the arrow operator, and we'll say p2 dot get Pokédex number. I need to do integer dot compared, and we're going to use the integers compare method. And I'm going to change this to p1. So it's going to be p1 and then p2 dot get Pokédex number. p2 dot get Poké. Oh, this is exploding pretty bad. Just finish typing this real quick. Okay, what was the issue? Why was autocomplete not working? Oh well. And then the final one that we had, we're going to say else. We'll sort Pokemon by weight. So we'll say else. And we don't need to do any conditional check here. We'll say sort method. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not going to check it. We'll just do Pokemon list dot sort. We'll do, again, we're going to have a p1, comma p2. We've got our arrow operator to define our anonymous functions method body. We're going to do float compare. And we're going to compare p1 dot get. Why is that not auto-completing? I'm not sure. Oh well. And then we'll do p2 there. Autocomplete's working. Oh well. Can't wait. So we're going to sort based on whatever the user types. So I'm going to go ahead, whatever the user wants using a dropdown. And so I'm going to go ahead and click bug to debug it. There we are. So you can see by default it's sorted the Pokemon by name. Now I can click Pokédex number, click sort, and the page is reloaded. You can see our sort parameter being passed. Now it's sorting by Pokédex numbers 625, 39, 150. And we'll sort by weight. And you can see we've sorted from the lightest Pokemon being Jigglypuff, Pikachu, and then Charizard, and then Mewtwo. So you can start to see that's pretty cool. This is how you would actually use checkboxes. Checkboxes, I don't remember how to do a checkbox right now, so I'm going to do HTML checkbox. Input checkbox. Why didn't I think of that? And so I can do input type equals checkbox. We'll give this a name. And then we'll say, we'll call it only males, I don't know, whatever. And so I'm going to run this. Oh, I ran the JSP. I need to type in Pokemon servlet. There we are. Got that little not a very good website. You know, nobody knows what this checkbox means. But then over on the servlet side, I could actually determine. You know, I'm gonna clean that up a little bit. I'm gonna put a label on this. Label will say only males. And then I'm going to add a BR element here. And a BR element here. Just to clean up my form a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and click the bug again to click play. So then I can see the JSP file. Again, I'm not clicking the servlet, so I have to go fix my URL. On servlet. There we are. Now what you could do is you could actually inspect this, whether this checkbox was checked. And you could say something like if request dot get parameter, what did we name it? What do we name it? Only males. Only males does not equal null. Oh, that's gotta be a string. So if only males does not equal null, we can do Pokemon list dot remove if, and we can type in a predicate, so p arrow operator, and then we'll say p dot get gender does not dot equals female. Actually, what we'll say, if we'll say males, and then we'll say not here. Click semicolon. So this will remove all the Pokemon. So if the Pokemon has a gender of male, this will return false, and then it won't remove the male Pokemons. If they are female or unknown or some other value, then we are going to remove them, and I think that's safer. All right, let's see if this goes. I'm going to close this web browser. I'm going to click the checkbox here. I'm going to click sort. We're not really sorting, but ooh. Well, that sorted them all. That removed them all right. So clearly I've got some syntax here that's not working quite right. But anyway, for the sake of making a video that's not any longer, there's been quite a few videos this week, you can use comparators to sort array lists, and you can use predicates to remove elements from those array lists. Clearly I've got some syntax here. I haven't implemented it quite right, but you can see how I can use those element forms to then sort elements with a drop-down box. So again, I hope this video was helpful. We got to see some cool stuff with lambdas and predicates and sorting, and so yeah. So again, thanks for watching.